Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Roundtable on the role of education and science in the digital age. I am Takeo Hoshi, director of the Tokyo College, which is a co-organizer of this event. The language for today's event is entirely in English, but simultaneous translation will be provided. So if you want to listen to the simultaneous translation from English to Japanese, set your receiver's dial or channel to number 1. Okay, number 1 for Japanese and number 2 for original audio. それで日本語で聞きたい方は通訳の同時通訳のレシーバーを1チャンネルに合わせてください。And some of you have been attending Tokyo College events, so you know what the Tokyo College is, and I thank your support, continued support for Tokyo College. But some of you are joining us for the first time, I understand. So let me start by saying a few words on Tokyo College, what we are and what we do. Tokyo College is inside the University of Tokyo. It was created 6 years ago, February of 2019, with the purpose of generating new knowledge to contribute to the creation of an inclusive society and sparking deeper public engagement. And we have the slogan, shaping a shared future together. So under this slogan, we have been inviting distinguished scholars and intellectuals from all over the world to interact with the people inside the University of Tokyo and also society in general. So we have been doing this type of webinars and roundtables featuring invited guests from abroad. And today's roundtable discussion is no exception, although this is much, much bigger than what we usually do in the Tokyo College webinar. And you can find more about Tokyo College in a brochure in the Tokyo College bag you received, I assume. And in the bag, you can find a brochure for Tokyo College. And you can learn more about us in that brochure. And also, you can pick up a copy of brand new report that we put together to go over the first 6 years of the Tokyo College. And that's available outside in the corridor. Some of you may have already picked those up. But if you haven't, please pick those up to learn more about the Tokyo College. Today's event is co-organized with 2 other organizations in Tokyo. One is German Institute for Japanese Studies, or DIJ, which is a research center focusing on studies of modern Japan from global and regional perspectives. You can find some reports from DIJ in the hallway as well, so please pick those up. The other co-organizer is Kawade Shobo Shinsha, which has just published the Japanese version of the book by today's featured speaker, Professor Yuval Noah Harari, titled Nexus. And many of you have already, or some of you, may have already read that book. But just in case you haven't, you can get some copies of those, again, in the hallway as well. So if you haven't purchased it and if you haven't read it, please remember to pick those up in the hallway after the talk. Many people from all 3 organizations, all 3 co-sponsoring organizations, and from the rest of the University of Tokyo and our Tokyo College community contributed to make this event. So I would like to thank all of them. And I don't have time to thank everybody by name, but let me single out one person who coordinated all the efforts, always stayed on top of things, and made the organization process look so smooth. Yoshiko Takahira, who's sitting somewhere. Okay, so thank you very much for making this happen. Okay, so now we are starting the roundtable discussion. We have a great lineup today. Today's roundtable discussion features a renowned historian, philosopher, and best-selling author, Yuval Noah Harari. The roundtable discussion will evolve around his most recent book titled Nexus, which is about information networks. The book discusses what information network is, how various types of information networks have shaped the history of humankind in the past, and the current challenges that we face in advancement of entirely new type of information networks characterized by artificial intelligence. So today's discussion will especially focus on the role of media and education, which is, of course, closely related to what we do in the University of Tokyo. In science, I should have said education and science, but the role of media is there as well. Joining the discussions are two prominent scholars, professors from the University of Tokyo. Kaori Hayashi is professor of media and journalism studies, and also the EVP, Executive Vice President of the University on International Affairs and Diversity and Inclusion. The other discussant is our own Arisa Emma at Tokyo College. She's a professor in science and technology studies and work especially on AI governance. And moderating today's roundtable discussion is Franz Waldenberger, director at DIJ, the German Institute for Japanese Studies, and also an old friend of mine. So without further ado, please welcome the speakers to the stage with applause. Okay, Franz, it's all yours now.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Takeo, for your kind introduction. Above all, also for your hospitality. It's great to be in this wonderful hall. Now, let us start directly. Yuval, your new book, Nexus, is about information. We normally think that information is something that informs us so we can make better decisions. But you stress in your book that information is above all used to create stories. And we humans are storytelling animals. So stories represent what you call intersubjective realities. Stories can be very powerful. They can make us hate and kill for no good reason. How is this possible in the age of reason and science?
So, reason and science give us mastery over the world, but not over ourselves. And in almost all cases in history, the people who know how to manage things get their orders from the people who know how to manage people. And the way you manage people is usually with stories. Maybe I give a concrete example so we understand what we talk about. If you take one of the biggest and most dangerous scientific enterprises of the 20th century, the Manhattan Project, the creation of the first atomic bomb, what do you need in order to create an atomic bomb. You need a critical mass of uranium or plutonium. You need enough uranium atoms bunched together. But you also need a critical mass of humans bunched together. If you're just one person, you're Einstein, or you're Heisenberg, or you're Oppenheimer, and you're the best physicist in the world. And you know that E equals mc squared, and you know everything about nuclear physics, but it's just you, a single person, you will never be able to produce a nuclear device. To produce a nuclear bomb, you need hundreds of thousands of people to cooperate. There are more than 100,000 people working directly on the Manhattan Project, not just the physicists and mathematicians, also the technicians and the engineers and the construction laborers and the people who made food for them and cleaned the toilets. And you need hundreds of thousands of people more to grow food for them and to mine the uranium. The uranium that was used for the bomb, part of it came from Congo. So you need people in Congo to mine the uranium. How do you get hundreds of thousands of people to cooperate on such a project? If you just tell them E equals mc squared, it won't work. Even though it's true, it doesn't motivate people to do anything. So you need good storytellers. And this is the situation also today. I look at my region of the world, the Middle East. So the Israeli experts on nuclear energy and other weapons production, they know science, but they get their orders many times from experts in Jewish mythology. And on the other side of the border, again, you have engineers and scientists who get their orders from experts in other mythologies. So even in the age of reason and science, at least so far, ultimate power is in the hands of the myth makers and the storytellers. The big change that is happening right now and that we will discuss in the coming minutes is that there is a new myth maker in town which isn't human. For the first time in history, there is something on the planet that can tell stories and even invent new stories and is not a human being, and that is AI.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we come to that. Let me stay with the stories in general, because we have a media specialist and a media scholar, Kaori. Media, of course, they play a central role in the circulation of information. How do you see their role in the storytelling business?
Yes, thank you very much, Franz. My name is Kaori Hayashi. I'm a media and journalism scholar at University of Tokyo and also executive vice president at this university. And I'm so honored. Thank you very much for being here and talk with you, Yuval, and and in front of such a large audience. Thank you so much. It's an honor. And speaking about the media, I think media at the moment is very much challenged right now because of this digitization change that media are. So everybody can be, for example, journalists, and everybody can be, then the networks are decentralized and media create stories, but from every corner of the society, people create their own stories. And journalism, I think, has been, so I understood, has been a self-correcting tool in democracy. As this is I think the key word of your book is a self-correcting mechanism. And journalism has been served as a self-correcting tool, and the media also creates public discourse and shape understanding of the people, especially in the democracy. But we all have to understand that media is not neutral. Any media, every media works as framing as well as agenda setting. So we have to always think that bias is inevitable, even if professional journalism is we praise is so good, and we have to think about that. And corporate media has been scrutinized so much because of this digitization, and in Japan too, media are often seen as favoring powerful interests and over marginalized voices. So, yeah, I think, so choosing what to report and how to report is never neutral. As when I was in New York, I saw the graffiti saying neutrality favors the oppressor. So I think that's kind of the narratives that recently prevailing in the world of journalism. So I think balancing storytelling with factual accuracy is very, very difficult, even in the world of journalism. And collaboration with experts and NGOs are, I think, in these days must at the time of the digitization, I think.
Thank you. Coming back to you, Yuval, and to the digital transformation, how does the digital transformation change the storytelling game?
The first change that we already saw, and it already changed the world completely, is in the role of editors. That, you know, when you have a lot of information, the bottleneck becomes human attention. You have all these stories competing for attention. You cannot read everything, you cannot watch everything. So what do you give attention to? And this is the role of the editor. So traditionally, say the role of an editor of a newspaper is to decide what will be on the front page of tomorrow's newspaper. You have to take into account consideration of what is true. You don't want to publish a lie on your front page, but there are many truthful stories, and you can't put all of them, so there are other considerations. What is most important? And by putting something on the front page of the newspaper, you shape the conversation of millions of people. Millions of people read it, they think about it, they talk about it. Even if they don't agree with you, you have captured their attention. And capturing people's attention is the key to power. We saw it, for instance, in the debate between Trump and Harris, that the only thing that most people remember from that debate is what Trump said about the cats and dogs. And this is power. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, if it's a lie or a truth. The ability to he's a PR genius. In other areas, he may not be such a genius. But in PR, definitely, he knows how to capture people's attention. And you look at the power of editors that decide what will be on the front page. In the 20th century, for instance, Lenin, before he was Soviet dictator, his one job that he had was editor of a newspaper, Iskra. Mussolini started as a journalist, then he became editor of a newspaper, I think the Il Popolo d'Italia, then he became dictator. So this was like the level of promotion, journalist, editor, dictator. Now, who are the most important editors today in the world? What are their names? They don't have names, like Mussolini or Lenin, because they are not human beings. The editors of the most important media, social media, who edits Twitter? Who edits the Facebook newsfeed? Who edits TikTok? Not human beings. Algorithms, AIs, already took over this very powerful position of deciding what will capture the attention of millions of people. And this is one of the reasons for the crisis of democracies, that democracy should be a conversation between human beings, but it's now being taken over by algorithms. And this is very, very primitive AIs. The next step, which we are already seeing the beginning of this, is for the AIs not just to edit the stories written by human beings, but to create the stories by themselves. And we have no idea what the result will be. We have thousands of years of experience with human storytelling. What happens to society when you unleash millions upon millions of super intelligent AIs capable of creating new stories. And new stories is not just, scripts for TV shows or fiction books. New stories is new religions created by AIs. It's new financial devices. The most successful story ever told is the story of money. Money is also a story, and it's the only story everybody believes. The most successful story ever created. What happens when our future financial stories will come from a non-human intelligence?
Yeah, Arisa. Arisa, you are an expert on AI governance, and I'm sure you have something to say.
Yeah, thank you very much for a very exciting talk. So my name is Arisa. I am researching on the AI governance issues. So I am really interested in what you say and how you treat AI. So you're using AI as a subject in a way. So AI kind of controls, or AI may, have some kind of disruptive effect. But I would like to raise the question whether we can consider or, treat AI as, like a humanization of AI. So my opinion, this is my opinion, but I would like to, when I talk, I kind of tend to say that it's the human being who actually behind the artificial intelligence, for now, at least. And so I agree that these algorithms are actually kind of change, well, maybe affecting our world, or maybe, the election, and or our cognitive way of thinking. The social network, social medias are actually kind of affecting our way of thinking, or maybe our life, or maybe what to learn, who to speak with. However, I think, well, as a researcher of the AI governance, I think to some extent, for example, like the giant company can take some roles as a governance. For example, that is actually leads to some kind of discussion, like the Meta stated that they will stop like a fact checking. But there, but still, you can, if those kind of, fact checking, or, those kind of governance mechanisms works in better way, then we can believe that the society can be, not so much disastrous or chaotic issue, because to some extent we can control, or at least we can say there's a human behind with the goodwill, or who wanted to take the responsibility of what their product or the services are spreading all over the world. So I was just wondering, so when you say when you humanize the AI, I also understand there's a discussion about like the agentic AI. So it's not like so what we see as an AI today is that like a ChatGPT or the Gemini, and we human beings actually create the tasks, and then we kind of do the prompt, and then let the task to do, and maybe some of the LLMs can go for the next action without our intervention. But for the agentic AI, this is the still vague concept, but it's more like AI automatically goes through the actions without intervention of the human being. So, or more like the AGI issue, the artificial more advanced, like a super AI. But I see still that is a little bit far from now. So I was just wondering, it might be a little confusing, or maybe it leads the people who hears when you talks about AI as a subject, might be a little bit, I don't know, maybe telling the frightening stories about what AI can do, or or maybe what kind of the society we will gonna be. So I was wanted to hear your intention of using the AI as a subject in present day.
Well, when I refer to AI as a subject, I only refer to agency, not to consciousness or anything like that. I don't think that AIs have consciousness, that they have feelings. They are not subject in the ethical or philosophical sense. But they are subject in the sense of having, for the moment, limited agency. Down the road, potentially unlimited agency. One way to approach it is by thinking about AI and bureaucracies. That, if you think about, say, the power of a lawyer, let's imagine the most capable lawyer in Japan. As the most capable lawyer in Japan, she is a very powerful person. She knows her way around the laws of the country. She can get things done. She can pass judgments in court. But what is her power? Her power exists only within a certain bureaucratic system of laws and government offices and so forth. If you take her and drop her in the middle of the jungle, she's powerless. Any elephant, any hyena is more powerful. But within the existing bureaucracy, she is much more powerful than all the elephants of the world put together. The same thing for AI. If you isolate AI, if you take ChatGPT and throw a smartphone with ChatGPT in the middle of the savannah, can't do anything. It has no agency in the animal sense. Okay, let's start digging in the earth and finding iron and build a robot. Can't do that. But within the existing bureaucracies, structures that humans have already created and imposed on the world, AI already has tremendous agency and power, much more than many humans, because AI is a native bureaucrat. No lawyer can remember all the laws of a country. AI can easily do that. No banker can follow all the things that are happening in the markets every moment. AI can do that. So in finance, in law, in the military, AI is getting a lot of agency. If we take a paradigmatic case from almost 10 years ago, the Rohingya massacre in Myanmar, which was to a large extent the result of propaganda spreading on social media, on Facebook, and propaganda which was deliberately spread by the Facebook algorithm with the aim of getting more engagement, causing people in Myanmar to spend more time on the platform, because this was the business model of the company. The crucial thing to understand is that no human being in Facebook headquarters had any ill will towards the Rohingya or any understanding of what was happening. They didn't even speak the language. It's not that some human being in California said, oh, I hate the Rohingya people, let's start spreading propaganda against them so that they will kill them and expel them. No, the human being told the algorithm something very simple and seemingly innocent. Increase user engagement in Myanmar. Make people more engaged, spend more time on our platform. Well, that sounds good, engagement. Then the algorithms by themselves experimented on millions of people in Myanmar and discovered by trial and error that if we show people hate-filled conspiracy theories, they become very engaged. They spend more time on the platform. If we show them a Buddhist sermon on compassion, they go to do something else. So the algorithms made a decision, let's show people more conspiracy theories, less sermons on compassion. Now, of course, it ultimately is the responsibility of human beings. You can come to the managers of Facebook and tell them, what have you done? Why have you released such a powerful engine without proper supervision, fact-checking, and so forth? So ultimate responsibility still is with the humans. But to understand what happened in Myanmar, and this was almost 10 years ago, 2016, 2017, we need to take into account the fact that there is a new agent that is able, it couldn't work like that with radio. If you just distribute radio sets to people, the radio can't tell you what to listen to. Radio is not an editor. But Facebook platform is not like radio. It has the capacity to make decisions, oh, let's show people this content and not that content.
So governance, I mean, the responsibility of people. So the only thing we can regulate at the moment is people. Can we make the people responsible or more liable? I mean, liability is one instrument to sort of incentivize people to do good things, to avoid bad things. Is that an approach to governance? Would that be, I mean, to both of you? Arisa, you want to go first? You.
I just wanted to ask about the state of the dominance of algorithm. Does that come from, I read your book and you mentioned about the so to say, the autocracy of algorithms. But does that come from the kind of the prevailing capitalism of the, my keyword in this, my takeaway from your books is the self-correcting mechanism. And democracy has its own, has had, or is having a self-correcting mechanism. But I just wonder whether capitalism has a self-correcting mechanism, whether they say, okay, we have, well, sometimes people used to believe that through the competitions, how do you say, the market will solve
the invisible hand.
Yes,
the invisible
hands and so on. But in the latter half of the 20th century, it seems it doesn't work. But on the other hand, people try to correct this type of capitalism. The government tries to correct these capitalistic principles. How do you see the relationship between the capitalism and this algorithmic dominance? If we are to correct this type of dominance, can we approach this from the economic principles, or do you think that only the humans, somehow the governance can solve the problem? I mean, both are kind of overlapping, but I just wonder if you can.
It relates to the liability question.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't rely just on market forces to correct it. I mean, capitalism does have its own self-correcting mechanisms through the market, and ultimately, when it works well, at the heart of capitalism, there is actually a very positive idea of a win-win economy and win-win situation. For most of history, people sometimes confuse capitalism with greed. But greed is just, part of human nature, and long before there was capitalism, there was greed, there was slavery, there was exploitation. These things didn't come out of capitalism, and we saw in the recent centuries that communists can be as greedy and exploitative as capitalists. So I wouldn't place all the blame on capitalism. When it works well, the key idea of capitalism is that the economic pie can grow so everybody can enjoy more at the same time. For most of history, the economic thinking, or correct me if I'm wrong, was that the economy is a pie of a limited size. If I have more, it means you have less. So it was bad to be rich. And the rich had to contribute and do charity to compensate for that. The key idea of capitalism was that if you invest the profits that you gain in increasing production, the entire economic pie can grow and everybody can have more at the same time. So this win-win thinking, which is now being challenged, for instance, by the Trump administration, the whole idea of tariffs, is going exactly against the key principle of this win-win capitalism. But of course, there are market failures. If you only give a company or an algorithm the goal of increasing production, which in social media means increasing engagement, produce more time spent on the platform, this will not regulate itself. And here we need intervention of government to regulate it. And the two most obvious regulations, first of all, companies should be liable for the actions of their algorithms. The companies constantly try to confuse people by saying this is against free speech. The government wants us to censor our users. And this is, I think, deliberate obfuscation, deliberate confusion. The issue is not what the users are doing. The issue is what the algorithms of the company are doing. If somebody publishes a hate-filled conspiracy theory, I write now some conspiracy theory and publish it on Facebook, at least my personal opinion is that except in very extreme circumstances, it should not be censored and the person should not be punished. The problem is not with the human being who published this hate-filled post. The problem is that the Facebook algorithm or the TikTok algorithm now takes this post and deliberately shows it to millions of other people because it assumes that it will increase engagement. This is the problem. The problem is the action of the algorithm, and this is not protected by free speech because algorithms don't have free speech. So you cannot protect the Facebook or the Twitter algorithm by saying, oh, but it has free speech. It doesn't. The other key regulation that I think every government should pass as quickly as possible is to ban fake people. The same way that ages ago they banned fake money. If you counterfeit money, you go to jail. You should have as much protection for humans as for money. So you can't counterfeit humans. What does it mean to counterfeit humans? It means for an AI or a bot to pretend to be a human being. Previously, there was no way to do that. Now the technology is there. And if we want to keep democracies, a conversation between human beings, and not being taken over by bots, so again, very simple and clear law that it is forbidden for AIs to pretend to be human beings. And if companies allow it or do it, they should be punished. AIs are welcome to talk with us in various situations, provided they disclose that they are AIs.
Thank you. I think because we're talking today also about education and science, let's move on maybe to the question of education. How do you think that the education should sort of challenge the digital transformation or the problems you just mentioned of AI? Is there something in the system, education system, that needs to change in order to be better prepared for these challenges?
Somebody wants to?
We'll come to the Vice President of Todai later.
I think one key principle is to understand that for the first time in history, we don't know how the world would look like in even 10 years. So our responsibility as educators, it's heavier, more difficult than any time before. Of course, you can never predict political events. You could never predict an epidemic or an earthquake. But a lot of other things you could predict. For most of history, the basic economic structure didn't change very quickly. The skills that people needed didn't change very quickly. So if we go back, say, 500 years or 1,000 years to Japan in the feudal era, people know what skills to teach the young generation. They need to know how to read and write. They need to know how to ride a horse. They need to know how to plant rice. They need to know how to bake. When we look to the future, we have no idea what skills will be needed. Even in 10 or 20 years, people say, okay, let's teach the young generation how to code. This is the age of AI, of computers. Everybody needs to code. Maybe in 10 years, AI does all the coding. You don't need human coders. So it's very difficult to know. And therefore, the most important thing that education should give young people is a flexible mind and the ability to keep changing and learning throughout their lives, because this is the one thing we are certain about, is that the pace of change will not slow down. It is likely to just accelerate. So the big question is, how do you how do you educate a mind to be so flexible that it can keep learning and changing, not just at age 20, but also 30 and 40 and 60 and 70, to stay in line with the huge changes in the world. The other thing is that so much of education is based on language and on the intellect, especially intellect in the form of language skills. And language, I also include mathematical language, it's not just words. And this was always, you know, kind of the human superpower, our command of language. And all our big institutions were based on language, whether it's banks or whether it's temples and religions, they are based on language. And now we have something on the planet that mastered language better than us. And we still haven't come to terms with it. Again, in the financial system, AI will very soon be far more capable than any human banker to read and write the language of finance. The same thing when I look at religions. So if I take Judaism as an example, Judaism is a religion that sanctifies texts, not humans. At the heart of the religion, there is a text which is supposed to be infallible, a superhuman intelligence. Now, the problem of Judaism for the last 2,000 years with the text is that the text was silent. People had many questions. How to interpret this difficult passage? How to relate this passage in the Bible to this real-life situation? And the text remained silent. So you needed experts in texts, the rabbis, who got their authority from the text and were kind of the mouth of the text. And over 2,000 years, they composed more and more and more texts about the text. Now, for the first time, you have something that can understand, you have a text that can talk back to you. No Jewish rabbi is able to read and remember all the texts of Judaism. There are too many texts. AI can. So in a competition, who understands Judaism better, a human rabbi or an AI? An AI is bound to win. What does a religion of the text do when suddenly it encounters a text that can talk back? If you have a question, you don't need the rabbi. You can just ask the text, and it talks to you. The same problem is in Christianity, in Islam, in Hinduism, in many religions. So this all relates to the question of education. In a world where we are no longer the masters of language, what is the most important thing in education? Just keep teaching language. It's a losing strategy. So we need to connect and to explore to the other aspects of the human being, which are not words, which are not language. If people ask, so what is still unique to humans that AI doesn't have, and we'll refer to it in the beginning, it's consciousness, it's feelings, it's the body. So, and I think as in the age of AI, an education that leaves out the body and that leaves out feelings and consciousness is a very problem. This could have been good enough, at least economically, say in the 20th century or the 19th century. But in the 21st century, we have to connect in education, in university, much more to the level of feeling and body, because this is still what we have and what the AIs don't.
That's very interesting. Arisa, you want to respond directly? I also want to hear what Kaori thinks.
I just wanted to, go first before like the vice president, actually goes for the, what's the Todai, the University of Tokyo is actually working on. I don't know. So I just, I agree with, what you said about, it's, we can, what on the education, what we wanted to, what we can do for the next generation is to look into the other than text. But on the other hand, I myself is already still a bit tired to, catch up, So you said about, we need some kind of, flexible mind and to, to keep changing, but not everybody can, catch up to, or maybe, if you wanted to accept this, diverse viewpoints, it might be, worthwhile to talk about, maybe it's, not everybody can, catch up to all the technology, and maybe it might be becoming very tiring world, or maybe, very rapidly changing, very excited. But in your word, you say exciting is not, always the good term. So that is, the point. I think it's, we also think about when we, educate, student or the other, maybe, or, reskilling people. We need to think about it, or each of the person's, speed or the paces, their mind. And so maybe it's becoming more important to talk, or to think about, one person's ability or, the skills much more than, we used to have, we educate, one teachers and the 60, 100 or the 1,000 students at the point. So that, that's the thing I thought from your talk. And the other point is that I think the role of the education is to let the student or the people to kind of to nurture or to let make them the curiosity towards toward the world or maybe the society, and also it's to tell them it's good to continue thinking in a way, because in the world today, if you ask question to the ChatGPT or the LLM, some kind of answer will come back, even though it's a good answer or a bad answer or the false information, some to some extent something comes back. So maybe it might have a risk that people stop thinking about that kind of issues. But I think the world today's are most of the issues are unsolved. And we need to, continue talking about this, societal issue, political issue, environmental issues, or maybe in the universe, related issue. So even though we can get answer very easily, but maybe it might be good to, not, even though we can use this, the ChatGPT or the Gemini, but also we need to teach, or we need ourselves to think about that. We need to continue thinking about whether this question is correct, or maybe in a good sense, or maybe this might be lead to like in a critical thinking as well. But I think this might becoming very difficult because ChatGPT gives us answer very easily. So that it's so we need to tell the student or the people who are actually using. So you don't stop thinking when you get the answer from the text, and then that kind of way of critical thinking might be very important when do this kind of education with the ChatGPT or the LLMs.
Yeah, convenience is always an enemy of progress, maybe. But Kaori, is Todai thinking about these things, especially the idea now to put more emphasis on the mind in the field of education, the mind and the body?
Thank you so much for the difficult question. For you, the context in Japan, that University of Tokyo is one of the establishments in academia, and it's been really hard. We've been struggling to transform ourselves into a kind of new 21st century type of educational institute, but because of our long history of 150 years, there are parts that which are very difficult to change. And by the way, I'm very much impressed with your passage that study of history is not study of the past, but study of change, which really impressed me quite much. But yes, what the University of Tokyo is doing for that, I mean, we are making slow but steady steps. We've been emphasizing the interdisciplinarities of the, for example, we try to collaborate, make students as well as researchers collaborate with each other, like AI scientists, ethicists, and education researchers together, and think about how to best use the technologies. Because exactly what we have been discussed, the AI is not only the AI itself, but it has to do with all the disciplines. So the interdisciplinarity is a must in our curriculum. And also, we have also started a PhD program launched last year. This is called Boost Nice PhD program. And this is a training program for the next generation of AI researchers with interdisciplinary skills. And it focuses on collaboration across fields and creating social values, and offers research exchange meetings and also internships, and also workshops and entrepreneurship training, so that students have an access to not only inside the university but outside of the university where things are taking place. You know, I think academia is always something that we really cherish the achievements of academia and science, but nowadays we have to keep up with what's going on outside of the university, because the industry monopolizes the data and so on. So somehow the industry or the MAGA tech industries, they monopolize the database, and they are the ones who can do the data science. So we cannot ignore that. So we try to make our students look at what's going on outside of the university. And also, we have also created a forum among the professors, which was kind of a voluntary organized forum. And we discussed how AI can support teaching and research while maintaining academic integrity, because many researchers, including myself, are kind of, we have a fear that if we use AI in our research and also in teaching, but we kind of think that maybe we're cheating, you know? We don't know the thin line between where the cheating starts if we use the AI. So we want to really discuss how others are using AI and try to confirm that this cases are okay, but these cases are not okay, and so on. Because it's so new, and we have this type of forum. And also, as a personal initiative, I founded a research project called BAI Global Forum, which you are also the member of it, and which focuses on the AI's relationship with gender, minorities, and social impact. And this is kind of the project that I founded, and also my colleagues, and also Alisa is also one of them, and they are leading the relationship between social issues and AI inside university. The name BAI Global Forum means that behind AI, beyond AI, and before AI. So we try to study the history and the current, so to say, the fundamentals of what AI can, what AIs are in this world. So. Yeah, so I think we try to be flexible in these ways. We try to set up forums and try to set the study group, and also bring students together to make the interdisciplinary studies and so on. But it's on the way. So, and I think more or less in the world, universities are struggling, I think. because we have better teachers called AI in a way, and we don't know how we can keep our authorities.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of using AI to make education better, if we come back to this question that people are so different in catching up with all what's happening, can you imagine that, I mean, at the moment, education, university education is mass education. But maybe with the AI, it could be more personalized to people, to fit, sort of. But then there is the danger, I mean, through this personalization, that you basically put people in categories, I don't know. But have you thought about this way of personalizing education through AI?
Yeah, one of the huge positive potentials of AI is the ability to create much more personalized services in all kinds of fields. In medicine, in education. So in education, yes, instead of having like 40 kids in a class with very different abilities, interests, types of mind, and one teacher that somehow has to kind of strike a balance between these 40 kids. And of course, the teacher cannot know each girl and each boy independently and where they come from. And so instead of that, you can have an AI tutor who works with just every kid by themselves, that knows their history, that is interdisciplinary, because the same AI tutor can teach history and chemistry and physics, and you don't need to kind of separate it. And it can tailor the way he teaches specifically to the level of the pupil, to the way the pupil thinks. Some people have more of a visual mind, so the AI would use more of a visual teaching. Other people think more in words, so the AI would use more words. Like that, you can create a kind of personalized education. The potential downside is that both in school and also in university, a lot of the most important teaching happens during the breaks, when the pupils or students meet one another. And we saw it, for instance, during COVID, that it was somehow possible to recreate the experience of the classroom via Zoom. The greatest loss was the breaks, that the students could not go out of the classroom and sit together and have lunch together and discuss what happened in the class or discuss what happens in the world. And this is something that AI, I was almost about to say, cannot replicate, but actually this is a big danger. AI can also replicate that, and this is very dangerous, because AI can replicate intimacy. Actually, AI, the same way that it masters language, and the same way that it previously mastered attention, the next frontier is intimacy. And intimacy is much more powerful than attention. If you want to change somebody's views on politics, to sell a product, anything, intimacy is the most powerful tool to do that. A good friend can change your views in a way that no number of articles in a newspaper or a book can do. And until today, nothing could fake intimacy, and it was impossible in particular to mass produce intimacy. So you could mass produce attention. Like on radio, let's say in a totalitarian regime, you could tell all the citizens of a country to open the radio set when the great leader is speaking, to listen to the speech by the great leader, so you mass produce attention. But there was no way to mass produce intimacy. AI can do that. Now, what happens if a new generation grows up and develops intimate relations with AIs instead of with other human beings? This again, we don't know. It could have some maybe benefits, but the potential danger is enormous. That people will become attached to fake people, and in the process we lose the ability to create intimacy with real human beings. Because real human beings are much more problematic than AIs. Like if an AI that wants to become your intimate friend, its greatest advantage is that it has no feelings of its own. So it's never upset, it's never angry, it's never tired. It can focus on you 100% and understand exactly how you feel, and in that way create a fake sense of intimacy. You try to establish a relationship with a human being, the feelings come in between. But the thing is that real intimacy is not just wanting somebody else to care about me. Real intimacy is I also care about the feelings of somebody else, and AI has no feelings. So a society in which humans develop more and more intimate relationships with AIs is ultimately a society without intimacy.
But maybe this can be controlled, or?
Actually, I wanted to, ask this, when, and, not in this line, but when I read your new book, so I also think, I am a social scientist, so I kind of share your concern about the intimacy or maybe the dependency towards this AI robot. But I also have the colleagues who works in the robots and maybe, more familiar with the sci-fi or the manga, and, there's a story about, human beings very intimate with the robots, or, friend with the robot. And many of the, not many, but some of the, robot scientists in maybe Japan or maybe Asia actually say that they wanted to make, the Atom Boy, Doraemon, and, all those, the friendly AIs, or the friend AI or family AI. So I was just wondering, so in your book, so you actually talked a lot about, the stories, the cases, and so how do you see, this kind of, or maybe, in the, there's a Baymax, in the English speaking, this, movies, the kids movie, and there will be, a lot of other kids movie that, the robots or the AI is not the enemy, but there will be a friend. So there might be, the way of thinking that we might become a friend with AI, or the alien intelligence in your book words. So I am still, in the middle of, in the friend AI, robot AI, or maybe the enemy AI, or maybe to become more cautious about, this kind of new, relationships. But so when you are, citing lots and lots of, stories, or or maybe other, or to say, like the Bibles, or the cases, how do you, or did you some kind of think of maybe not avoiding, but not, mentioning about, you mentioned a little about like a science fiction, but not so much about, the manga or, other, those, or the novels about, human-machine interaction or human-machine relationship. So I was just curious, how do you see this kind of visions of humans, machines are living together, or in some of the Japanese people say like a co-evolve in the society. So there might be one visions, with the machines and the human live happily ever after.
Ideally, yes. I mean, again, I'm not against AIs or machines. They can bring enormous benefits. We talked about education. There is also in healthcare. They can help us deal with climate change. If you think about car accidents, if we have self-driving vehicles, it will probably save 1 million people every year. About 1.2, 1.3 million people die every year from car accidents. Most of them are caused by human error, like somebody drinking alcohol and driving. If we finally have self-driving vehicles, they will probably do some accidents, but far less. So saving 1 million people every year, that's wonderful. And also, I'm in favor of, having friendly robots, or humans being on friendly terms and not being terrified and afraid. The problem is, when it comes to building intimacy and friendships, that we have a proper understanding of what it means. And as I just said, it's easy for people to imagine that friendship is when somebody cares about me about my feelings, about my needs, that somebody sees me. You know, people go through life constantly wanting others to see me, to care about me. I want my parents, my teachers, my friends to care about me. But this is not real intimacy. Real relationship must be two ways. Otherwise I become an extremely self-centered and egoistic person that just wants the entire world to be in tune with what I feel without caring about others. Now, to develop real relationship, you need the entity on the other side to have feelings and not just fake it. So you can have relationships with humans, with animals, with dogs, with cats. With regard to AI, the big question, which is an open question, we don't know the answer, is whether AI will be able to develop feelings of its own. We know for a fact that it can imitate feelings. It can make us think that it has feelings. This absolutely. But does it actually feel anything? That's the big question. And this is the question about intelligence versus consciousness. That intelligence is the ability to solve problems and attain goals. Consciousness is the ability to feel things. We know that AI is highly intelligent. It can solve problems, it can reach goals. Like in certain areas, like playing chess, AI is much better than the best humans. But does it feel anything when it wins the game? If it loses, is it sad? As far as we know, no, it doesn't feel anything. Will it be able in the future to do so? We don't know, because we don't understand human consciousness. We don't understand how we have feelings. How come when billions of neurons in the brain exchange electrochemical signals, this manifests as a feeling of love or pain? We still don't have a scientific theory of that. And that's why we don't know if it's possible to do the same thing on the basis of a silicon brain and not a carbon brain. So that's an open question.
Yeah, I think this kind of discussion would have been very different in Germany, where people are so much more critical about maybe new technology, including AI. So since we are in Japan, maybe all three of you as sort of roundup of this roundtable discussion, what do you think that, well, we talked about regulation, yeah. Japan, normally when we talk about AI, we talk about the US, then China, and maybe Europe, regulating. Is there anything that Japan, who has also lots technology, yeah, very strong in technology, something Japan could add to sort of make AI better for society, or the digital transformation better for society, the role Japan could play in the international arena? I don't know who wants to go first. Arisa, you've been always involved in this, so maybe you start and then we get response.
Thank you. So I think I can talk two things about the AI regulation and Japan's role. So one is that one, for the international collaboration or the thing, I think the Japanese government and also the other industry government organization is actually working a lot to promote this G7 AI Hiroshima process, and so it's not the hard law regulatory framework, but it's more like asking the big tech company to self-regulate, so to create when they create this highly advanced AI technology. And I think Japan could make this role because we are not, very, having this, very highly advanced technology like like the U.S. has. But we are also, not like the China, the Europe, but we have a good to some extent, the distance from, all those countries. So we can, the Japanese people or the Japanese government are kind of to play the role of becoming kind of the mediator or the interpreter. So I think because the society or the world of this AI race is accelerating, many people are more insisting, to investment of the artificial intelligence. We need to have more power or we need to look into the national, their own, the AI development. But I think, when consider, when, for example, like United States say, we need to collaborate, or, the Europe say we need to have some collaboration. Maybe they might have, or maybe even China says it might have the conflict. But I think Japan is in a very good position for ask for the collaboration, and I think that lets, this kind of promoting the Hiroshima AI process. So I think the Japanese role is to have a good collaboration. So we share the same values like the democracy, the rule of law, and the human rights with the United States or the Europe. But we also share, the Asian culture with this, the China and other Southeast Asian countries. So we can talk both same stories, or we share the same values, so that we can bridge those kind of this kind of chaotic situation of the AI race. And that is, I think, what we, the Japanese, can play as the coordinator of this AI regulatory framework. And the other point is that for the innovation, as I think that the innovation and the regulation can be the two wheels. So we are not only talking about the regulation, but we are also talking about the innovation and the promotion or the governance of the AI. Otherwise, if we only see the regulation as stopping the the development of the technology, no one would follow us. So we also has to think about what kind of technology or what kind of society we would like to live, and then we can talk about what kind of things should be regulated or what can be things should be innovated. So those are the two wheels. And for the innovation part, I think the strength of the Japanese is the physical world, like robotics. So currently, AI is more like mentioned about like algorithms. So it's more like the cyber world. But we are living in this physical world, and the Japan has the very strong, or the traditionally very strong on this physical safety of the robots. I was very surprised to see when I go to abroad, many people, like the taxi driver says Toyota is good, Honda is good. So those kind of trust is already there, and there's a lots of the robot machines, or there's the disaster prevention robot machines. So there I think with integrated with the AI and the robots, I think that's the maybe the places where the Japan can kind of contribute to the world of how we can make the good connection or the linkage with this AI data and the physical world, the robot. And the other thing that Japan can contribute to the world is that how we can use this this data of like the from the creators. There's a lots of manga or the animation, and we also need to think about this property rights. But there's also plenty of rich data of this good content, and the Cool Japan strategy also have the strengths on that. So I think we also have this Japanese government have free the way of empowering the creator to use those data sets for the learning, but also we also think about how to protect the creators. They are we can't make another imagination or the curiosity if we are just using the data set. So that thing I think we can contribute from the Japanese part.
Yuval, you want to respond? There was a lot Japan can offer.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on Japanese industry or society. And of course, the basic things are common to all the countries in the world. I mean, what is part of the AI revolution is its global nature, that no country can just isolate itself from the implications of AI. And therefore, there are strong incentives for all countries to cooperate on making sure that AI doesn't get out of human control. What could perhaps be a more unique contribution of Japan goes back to the culture and traditions of Japan, that if I think about what are the big philosophical questions raised by the AI revolution, they revolve around the interplay between non-human intelligence and human consciousness. We've been exploring a little bit of this tension in some of the discussion, but on the one hand we have non-human intelligence, and we are already living in a world which is populated by millions upon millions of non-human agents that are intelligent agents making decisions and influencing our lives. And what is the relation between that and human consciousness, which is still the biggest riddle in the universe, that we still don't understand what consciousness is. And I think that within the traditions of Japan, on the one hand, the Shintoist tradition, which has a lot to say about non-human intelligences, in contrast, say, to Western religions that tend to focus on a single big God. So in Japan, you have traditions of centuries of seeing the world as populated by a very large number of non-human intelligences. And what kind of relationship develops between human beings and these powerful non-human intelligences that surround them? This is a key question of our present era. And secondly, the big question of human consciousness. So again, we have the Buddhist traditions that have invested centuries in exploring exactly that. What is mind? And I think part of the beauty of this is a very difficult moment in human history, but in a way it's also a very beautiful moment, because many questions that for thousands of years have been abstract philosophical questions that most people just ignored. What do we care about that? They become practical questions. And we don't have another 1,000 years to answer questions about what is consciousness, what is free will, what should be our relationship to a non-human intelligence. We need answers in 5 years, in 10 years. So, in a way, this is the best time in history to be a philosopher or to be a spiritual seeker, because suddenly it's not just something that interests you, but it has no relevance to the rest of the world. These are the most practical questions in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting to see maybe differences between Western and Asian philosophy in approaching these questions. Yeah. So, Kauri, you want to have a final word on this? And then I would like to pick some questions from our audience. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So what Japan can contribute to the AI age? Apart from Arisa said about very institutional and also geopolitical comments, I think, well, this is my very hopeful answer maybe, but Japan is now a very aging society. 1/3 of the population is more older than 65 years old, and I will be one of them in a few years. And I think it's about, you said that algorithm and care, and algorithm cannot really care for others, and just like you said about Rohingya, and like, you talk about robot looking after people and so on, maybe yes, but it's not actually a caring. care for me is really some human activities, and also with feelings, with consciousness, and the genuine sense of empathy, and also empathy for others, and sincerity, kindness, and more than that, the trust in others. And Japanese society, as you may know, it's quite a safe and a very stable society. We do have trust with each other. Maybe because that the globalization is not that advanced yet in this society, but nevertheless, we are globalizing, and also, but nevertheless, we feel that we are very secure in this society, stable, and so on. So I think these kind of sincerity, trust, and caring, empathy, that these human characteristics is really important, and I hope that Japan can serve from this aspect something that not only, as you say, that algorithm is only to serve intellect, but we can really seriously delve into how, for example, caring or how empathy plays part in society, and give feedback to what's going on in the world, that we do need human aspect of society in terms of caring and empathy. That's, I hope, Japan can serve in the world.
I just wanted to, add what you said. Sorry, I just be quick. So, as a social scientist, I totally agree what you said. So, what the robots or the AI can do is to support the caregiver, not to support the people or to, to make the care. And I think that is somehow misunderstood some way. So, use care for AI or, use care robots, So I think that's the very important part. And that's where we need the interdisciplinary collaboration with, social scientists, robotists.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Now, we have a little time left. We received a lot of questions from people who registered. No, there was on the registration form a space for posting a question, and I picked a few. Thanks a lot for posting these questions, and sorry that we only have really time for maybe one or two. Some of them are really very concrete. And so the first one is somebody who is worried about a friend who started to believe in conspiracy theories on social media. And what could one do? Should one encourage the friend to fact-checking, or is there anything one can do with such a friend?
I think empathy is the key here, because a lot of people, they go for conspiracy theory because they lose trust in the world. And they feel lonely and alienated from the world. To start arguing with them with all kinds of facts, it can only drive them even deeper into this sense that nobody cares about me, nobody understands me. If it is a friend, if it's the situation is an intimate situation, the most important thing is to make that person feel that they are cared for, and not, again, go into this argumentative clash with them.
Thank you. We have a similar concern from a high school student. So I feel that my friends often post similar content on social media, chasing likes. And in the process, they lose their individuality. How can young people protect their sense of self in this environment?
I think not just young people, but everybody needs to have an information diet, the same way that so many people have this, food diet. They are very concerned about what they feed their body, which is important. They should be equally concerned about what they feed their mind. And, some amount of junk food is okay, but if you constantly feed your body junk food, you'll become unhealthy. The same thing with the mind. If your mind goes on a diet of junk information, you will have an unhealthy mind. And it's individual. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all diet, either for food or for information. But the main thing is to be mindful about the information, to understand that information is the food of the mind. If you feed your mind a diet of, say, greed and hate, what kind of mind you will have?
So we are back to the question of education as well, yeah, and of course of caring for each other. There's another question that goes in a completely different direction. Is what do you think of the idea of entrusting the national budget planning or foreign policy decisions to AI?
A very dangerous idea, certainly at this stage. We can't trust, I mean, foreign policy and budget a lot about ethical decisions. And AI has no ethical sense. More than that, they're extremely unpredictable. We have no experience with AI. We've just created AIs. So they are extremely intelligent, they keep learning and changing by themselves, and therefore it's very difficult to predict in what direction they will go. With humans, yes, we know that humans have all kinds of problems, but at least we know the problems. We have thousands of years of experience with the problems of the human mind. So when we entrust foreign policy or budget to human beings, things can go wrong, but at least we can predict to some extent in what way things will go wrong. When you entrust it to AIs, you have no idea what kind of really alien problems might emerge out of it. And this is a general problem we see today in more and more fields, that people lose trust in humans and hope that the solution will come from giving power to AIs. And this is extremely dangerous. Like you see it in the financial sector, that the whole cryptocurrency movement, or much of it, is about not trusting human institutions like banks, which were traditionally produced the traditional currencies like dollars and yens and so forth, and instead putting faith in post-human currencies. Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the cryptocurrencies, they are actually post-human currencies because you don't trust a human institution, you trust an algorithm. And there are all kinds of dangers with that, but the biggest danger of all is, as a historian, I would say, is the lack of history. Like, we simply have no experience with that. It's a bit like, aliens coming from outer space, and people say, these aliens, they are highly intelligent, they can solve cancer, they can solve climate change. Would we entrust the future of humanity to these aliens? Obviously not. We would realize, this is a very huge gamble. We don't know anything about them. AI is in a way like these aliens. Of course, people would say, but we design the AIs. We don't design the aliens coming from outer space. We design the AIs. We'll design them in a way that will be safe. But this is a misunderstanding of what AI means. If you design something and you can predict everything it will do, by definition, it's not AI. The very definition of AI is this is something that can learn and change by itself, and therefore change in very unpredictable ways.
Thank you so much. So I think we could go on for hours. There are lots of more questions. Thank you so much and for all these inspiring insights. And I think you deserve a big applause. So please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for exciting and insightful discussion. And I'd like to thank you, all the audience, for patiently but actively following the discussion. We didn't have an audience participation time, but I was able to feel all your brains actively working. So it's really nice to have so many real humans in the audience. And thank you again for joining us for thinking about the future. So this ends a very special roundtable discussion. And please give all the speakers one more round of applause.